All right, this week on West of Tulsa, two guys living the dream. At least it's my dream. For these two guys that you're about to meet, they get up in the morning, they drive down to the shop, and they wrench on the coolest Porsches and old VWs. Known them for years, and they have great taste in cars, as you're about to see. But the jewels, in my opinion, are the Porsches. And if you feel differently, let us know, drop us a note, tell us what you'd be working on in your dream shop. And stick around because we would love to do a West of Tulsa show in your garage. We'll explain in a bit exactly how to do that. All right, Christina joining me now. We are in Goleta, California at the Paddock Motor Club. And those two men we're talking about, they're right over here. So let's walk over and meet them. How are you guys doing?
Hey, CJ. How's it going? How are you?
Angel Martinez.
Hello.
How are
Nice to
you?
meet
Good to
you.
see you.
And Joe Schneider. How are you?
Hi, Joe.
Thanks for inviting us down here.
Thanks for being here.
How did this all start? When did this all start?
I guess it was about 5 years ago. It was kind of a fortunate COVID thing. It happened just before COVID. You know, I wanted originally a place to work on cars that I own. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just do some storage for people I know. And then COVID hit, and I thought, well, I don't want to do any storage. That's lonely. I went and talked to Joe, who, because of COVID, really couldn't be in his old shop. And I said, come on over. You want to work on stuff? I've got stuff. And so that's how it started.
Well, if there's a guy who's going to work on your motor, this is the guy here.
Oh, yeah. He's only
brings
done
an
it about...
encyclopedia for Porsche bolts and
He's
stuff.
a guy who doesn't have to look up part numbers.
Yeah.
He has them memorized. It's incredible.
So how did you get into, why Porsches, why Volkswagens? How did you get into this part of it? I mean, have you always had a love for just Porsches and Volkswagens or anything German?
in my misguided youth, I was a Corvette guy.
Okay.
Well, first a Chevy guy. I was before Corvettes, then Corvettes. And then in college, I was shown the light.
I'm curious. So, because you went from Chevy to Porsche, what was your first Porsche?
The 1956 normal coupe, and the reason I got it was that the Chevy dealer, who was the biggest Corvette dealer in LA, and I forget his name now,
Like Felix
would
or
finance
something
it.
Okay. Okay.
And it was, I was a poor, struggling college student who had no business buying a
Porsche.
Buying a $2,500 car.
and so then it was $13.95,
$13.99.
Wow.
and they no problem, good credit, yeah, here. I mean, they just wanted it off their lot.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
Sitting over in the corner was an orphan and his Chevy.
This is one of your newest ones, right?
No, I've actually had this car 12, 13 years. It's a very original car. It was originally black, and I just had it repainted. It's a beautifully preserved 356C.
But you just started doing some work on it recently, right?
Well, what we did is we did rebuild the engine,
Okay.
and again, had it repainted. But again, the car is so tight. This is the quietest 356 I've ever ridden in.
Wow.
It's
What
just
is the
that.
year on this car?
64.
64.
Yeah.
Wow. It's beautiful.
And then, I mean, have you walked around before we started shooting?
Yes.
What's your favorite car in this garage? I'm going to put you on the spot right away.
Yeah, it would have to be this one.
Is it this one?
Yes,
Right? And it's not even
I was
finished yet.
hoping to get more information on it because I really don't know a lot about them, and it is beautiful.
And Joe, you just built the motor on this, right?
Yeah.
What size is it?
But
What
we
can you
did.
tell us about
It's
it?
a 1700, 1720,
Okay,
and
all
it's got a mild cam and put Webers on it. It's just a little bit warmed over.
I grew up in the Bronx in New York. Didn't see a lot of Porsches in my neighborhood, but I did see Volkswagens every once in a while, and I was fascinated by them because this was the early 60s. You didn't see anything shaped like a Volkswagen. Everything was a big American car. So I just thought those were cool, the egg cars, we called them.
And I know you like the Volkswagens too. This is a beautiful one right here.
I grew up, driving Volkswagens, working on Volkswagens, selling and buying and selling Volkswagens paid for college, although tuition was $214 a quarter
Wow.
at UC Davis, but
Yeah.
but this car came from a friend of mine who has a dealership, Jim Crook at Milpas Motors. He had a customer. I'd been looking, this is an oval window, it's a 57. I'd kind of been looking for an old bug and that was done, you know. And I had this thought because I had this engine sitting on a pallet. This engine came out of a 58 356 that we made into an Outlaw. So that one now has a 912 Outlaw engine. So what do you do with the old normal engine, which had been rebuilt?
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to put it in a bug, and which is a project lots of people have done, sometimes not so well. This one, I think we did it right.
And that motor just fits in there. There isn't a
Yeah.
whole lot of extra room in there, is it?
It's not the
Yeah.
easiest thing to work on.
I was going to say awfully tight.
Did you put that in there?
Yeah, we put it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it went in and out about 5 or 6 times. You know, because you're putting it in, you're fitting it, then you get the cutter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're grinding little parts of chassis. You don't want to do too much, you
Yeah.
know. So this is a shoehorn, but it
Yeah.
fits.
Yeah.
Gotta ask, what color is that? That's an amazing
This is
color.
called Dove Blue. It was
Dove
an original color. This is original color to the car.
Okay.
The interior of this thing is what I love.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I like
You
the
know.
banjo steering wheel on it.
Yeah, well, that wasn't stock for
Yeah.
Volkswagen.
You bring
That's a
it.
Porsche.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's
Yeah,
fun
that
to
is beautiful.
drive. It's fun to pull up on somebody. You're going 80, you know, in this, and they kind of freak out. After 80, though, aerodynamics take over.
Oh,
The
yeah.
front end starts to lift.
Oh, boy.
And it gets a little light. You
Yeah.
know,
Boy.
so not recommended.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that why you put the Porsche sticker on the side?
Yeah,
so that way
just-
people don't
just-
get confused?
They don't get
Yeah,
confused. You know,
yeah.
people know.
Champion Valvoline on the side.
Yeah.
So is it common for a lot of people to put Porsche motors in Volkswagen? I mean, I don't see it a whole
Paul
lot.
Newman did. I mean, he was
Yeah.
famous for a convertible that he had, which is kind of like that one,
Okay.
with a Porsche motor in it.
Okay.
It was a lot more common before, but now the Porsche motors are so valuable, they're going to go in a Porsche.
Right.
So it's rare that you find somebody doing that today because that motor is worth more than the whole car
Yeah, that makes sense.
in terms of parts, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
When you do it, you kind of have to upgrade the car. Like this has Porsche brakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Porsche
Because
wheels and
Volkswagen
brakes.
were built for 52 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And these
Right.
were the wheels and brakes I've been carrying around for 20 something years in different moves, even across the country. It was a big box full of, I knew someday I'd put them on something, but they came off of an old Roadster I used to have.
If you have a shop or a garage and you want us to come by and check it out and do a show possibly, let us know. Go to our website, westofTulsa.com. Like us, by the way, and let us know where you are so that way we can go to your shop. We'd love to tape a show there.
We moved to California when I was 13. And, you know, one day I had a teacher, because I'd never been camping or any of that stuff. You can't camp in the Bronx. That's not good for your health.
Safely.
So she said, okay, well, my stepson will come pick you up, you know, on early Saturday. We're going to drive out to the river far away, 2-hour drive. So the guy pulls up in a 1957 356A coupe. I'd never seen that before. And he was this big guy, he had a big beard, you know, big guy. And he crawls out of this car. And I said, what is this? And he says, it's a Porsche. And I said, what? What is it? He goes, it's a sports car. A what kind of car? I didn't even know what a sports car was. So for the next 2 hours, we drove from the Bay Area out to the far-flung reaches of the San Joaquin River. And he was going about 80 miles an hour in this little car. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to get me one of these someday. Well, Joe called me one day and said, Angel, I have a customer that has a real S. You know, it's not fake S. I mean, it's a real S, factory S. And I'd been looking for an S, you know, and they're hard to find, especially a 73.
What did the S denote in Porsche language? What did that mean? Super?
And as a person that doesn't know a lot about Porsches, how rare is this car? There was only so many made, and
Yeah, this was a top of the line 911 in
Okay.
1973. Well, there was an RS, but that was
Yeah.
a
Racing.
right,
spec.
right,
But for the average person, this was top of the line.
okay,
And so they are rare because a lot of them, they weren't that rust proof, and so a lot of them rusted away. People at the time drove the crap out of them, and then didn't really maintain them very well, and then people over time start doing things they don't know what they're doing, and one thing leads to another, and the car isn't what it's supposed to be. This car was all aspects of it were here, original. It even had the original sport seats.
And that's a big deal. You were
That's a
telling me.
very big deal.
Yeah.
They're like sport seats, just sport seats that need to be reupholstered are $10,000 a pair.
Wow.
wow.
So for seats,
Wow.
the original sport seats. So, and I didn't know that until I got the car home because he had sheepskin covers on the seats. When I bought the car, I went up there, I picked it up, drove it back, got home. I thought, I wonder what those seats are. They feel a little more supportive than the regular seats. And the sheepskin was all torn up, So I cut it away, and there they were, sport seats.
Like Christmas
Wow.
morning.
It
Yeah.
was, I had to have them
Yeah.
redone because they were dried up, but
It also has a sunroof, and that you
has
were
a
saying the
sunroof.
combination between the sport seats and the sunroof makes it even rarer. A couple
Right.
hundred.
yeah, that would be my guess. I don't know production numbers on these. They're very desirable. People want 72, 73 S's.
It really
Yeah.
does.
So when you picked up this car, what was your vision? Did you have a vision already of what you would want to do with
Yeah,
it?
this
And-
is the vision. I
so,
wanted it.
but I noticed you have like the roll cage, so you've taken it on the track, okay.
I've tracked the car quite a few times now. We take it on the Target, California, which is a fun rally.
Okay.
It's like 300 miles a day or so for 3 days on all kinds of twisty California roads.
Okay. Okay. So that's what most of all of these are from
Yep.
your rallies.
And that's coming up here in the middle of May. I will be taking that car over there this year. It'll be its maiden
The blue
rally.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But this one, there are things about this car that you just don't find. So I did not over restore it. I did not redo the chrome or the stainless steel. I took off the front of the car. They came from the factory with these really ugly rubber bumpers. I hate those. Took those off. Car looks a lot cleaner now.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it looks great.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think another
Yeah.
significant thing that I just thought of was that these two, the black car and this car, are kind of the last of the breed, right? So the 73 was the last of the 911 series before they went to the CIS, and the 74 was the short hood, right? So these are the long hood ones that now people are backdating, right? So they buy newer cars and then they put all the early pin.
Try to make them look old.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the black car, the 64, 65 was the last of the 356 series.
Yeah.
I mean, the last completely, So not just a model change, but the last of the
Yeah,
cars.
you have
So
a
they're the
couple of
most
very
desirable.
special cars in here.
Gorgeous.
Well, how did you guys meet?
I was his best customer. For one of them, anyway.
Well, and then when you sold Schneider to Henry, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you came over here. No.
Well, quite a while later.
Oh, was it later?
We,
Okay.
We sold it. Henry and Paula took over in 2016.
Okay.
And Kathy and I worked there every day until COVID. And then there were guys in the shop that didn't want to get shots, and there was, we just thought we're too old for this stuff. So I stayed home for a few months, and then Untold said, "Hey, come on down, take a look at this."
Let's go over and take a look at at
Yes.
this other blue 911, because you said this is getting ready to hit the road.
Yeah,
It's a 69.
69T. That stock from the factory, it was 2 liters, and now it's a 2.2. with some other upgrades in the engine. It's
Yeah.
going to be a fun little engine. I love 2.2s. They're fun. 2 liters and 2.2s are fun to drive. They make great sounds.
Yeah.
And these are light, light cars, certainly compared to a later 911. I found this. So the president of the local Porsche club called me one day and said, a lady just called me. She lives in Goleta, and she has a car in her garage. It's been there a long time. Used to belong to her husband who passed. And she wants to know if somebody will look at it and tell her what it's worth. She's thinking of putting it on Craigslist. So Joe and I went over there. The car, this is the original color. The car was, if I showed you a picture of it, you'd say, well, that car looks perfect. Why paint it? But the patina was weird. So I had it repainted the original color. This is all original back here. You can see that. So that's original paint. And I got it in the shop. We looked at it, found no rust at all, and made her an offer. I said, you can put it on Craigslist. People are going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
They're going to want to steal the car from you, basically.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll make you a fair offer because it needs restoration. So that's what we did, and that was 3 years ago. Just for the people who are anticipating doing this at home, it's going to cost twice as much and take twice as long.
Yeah.
Just know that. That's the nature of the beast.
And you have an expert helping you, and
I
it
have
still
an
takes
expert.
3 years.
It's
I was
still-
going to say, what is typically the biggest obstacle when you're restoring stuff like this?
Joe can explain it all.
Well, the biggest thing is rust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to 75, 74, 75, rust was a huge problem on these cars. And that's the number one killer. This car obviously lived here, not in the east, or so that's the big thing. The other thing is getting parts. Generally are easy to get. This is a 69, and a 69 is a 1 year only thing in several respects, and so we've had issues finding the right stuff, and sometimes you're forced to update.
Right.
In general, now what's going on is people are looking for cars in California. Germans want their Porsches back.
Interesting.
So you get a lot of folks from Germany shopping and looking for cars in California,
Wow, and then
especially
they
now with Bring a Trailer.
Import
A lot of the
them back
nicer
in.
cars go back to
Interesting.
Germany.
Wow.
Because in Germany, they rusted
Yeah,
a long time
right.
ago. And they have big rust issues
And
there.
this is the here, California, Arizona, Texas. That's where the
dry environment where
the
the rust
survivors
gets
are.
them.
We're the
Yeah.
preservation society, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
in Germany, if a car has rust on it, they won't let it on the road. It's not like here where you can drive a car with some rust and, I'll fix it sometime. They see rust on it on the inspection, that car is not going on the road.
Okay, well
They
that
just
makes
figure
sense.
it's not
then.
safe anymore.
Yeah.
Right. They're very,
Yeah.
very strict about the rules for auto maintenance and roadworthiness.
I wanted to ask you about that car
Yeah.
up there. So what is that year, make, model? What is that?
That is a 64 Volvo P1800S.
Oh.
And if there was an old TV show called The Saint with Roger Moore, and this was his car.
Okay.
They're not fast. They just look really beautiful. I think they're
Yeah,
beautifully designed.
So pretty.
And
Love
and
it.
it's funny when they made that TV show, whenever they had a chase scene, all they did was speed up the film, so it looked like they were going fast. It's true.
And the S isn't for super. The S is for Sweden.
The S is for
Because that's what
Sweden.
they made it. If it had an E, it'd be
It was
England.
well, no.
Is
If
that
it had
right?
an E later, it was a fuel injected version.
Oh, is that
So
what it is?
originally
Okay.
the cars were called. It was a P1800, and they were made in the UK. They were made in.
Maybe that's where I thought the E came from. But
Yeah, no, they were made in the UK, but then in 62 and 3, Volvo was not satisfied with the product quality and the coachworks they were using. And so they moved all production to Sweden. And so this is 64 that's what the S was,
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah. I love what you guys are doing here. And I know I tried for a year to get you guys to come on the show. I tried so hard. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us
Yeah,
come.
it was
All
great
right.
meeting you guys.
All right.
Likewise.
Same here. So again, we're at the Paddock Motor Club, Goleta, California. keep an eye out for these guys. They're out and about driving around in
Yeah.
Porsches and cool old Volkswagens. All right, thanks for watching or listening. Don't forget, go to westofTulsa.com, click on the tip line page. I do that to bother them. The tip line page, send us whatever information you got. If you want us to be at your garage, we'll show up there and we'll tape a show. Doesn't matter where you are. It could be east of Tulsa. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you west of Tulsa.